People have asked, how do you love a kid that comes into your home? What's the balance of if you don't know they're gonna stay? And I think it's really tempting to just do minimal care and not let yourself become attached, because it seems like it would be less painful when they leave. I look in the scripture and say that's not like how Jesus has loved us. I am called to lay down my life for these guys no matter how long they're in my home. Going from being a single woman to fostering as a single woman overnight has been the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, I knew it was gonna be hard. Definitely had some fears. You know, I think just practically, like wondering, could I do this as a single parent? You know, I had fears about financially, would I be able to make this happen? And then I think there's just so much unknown. Like, you don't know the type of trauma the kid would have come from or endured. You don't know their story. You don't know how they're gonna act. You don't know how long they're gonna be there. I think there were just so many unknowns that I had a lot of fears about what it was actually going to look like. But I just knew that this was what the Lord was telling me to do. So I just kept praying about it and walking forward. You know, my ideal world was like one preschool, elementary school kid that's around the same age as all my friends' kids, so we can kind of do life together. But I think I just thought being a children's minister, like this kind of fits in even with my job. When the agency called, she said, we have a special case. We have a sibling set, and there's one in your age range. And she said, the other one's 14, one's 11. Even though these boys were older and there were two of them, this was not what I had planned for. I felt the Lord was leading me to say yes to these boys. So I did. I remember when they pulled in the driveway the first time, watching these two brave boys get out of the car and walk up to this crazy lady's house. Dexter had on a polo, it was buttoned all the way up, it was green, and he came up and shook my hand, introduced himself, very formal. Jeremiah didn't make eye contact with me, was a little more shy, but to be expected. I think it really hit me when the caseworker left and it was just me and the boys, and being like, okay, I'm in charge. I suddenly am a parent to two junior high boys, and I don't know what I'm doing. The first couple of weeks of the boys who moved in was kind of like a honeymoon phase. I was off of work. My parents were able to come in town. It was around Christmas. We had lots of fun happening. For a while, they had done their best to put their best foot forward, and I had put my best foot forward, and about 3 or 4 months in, there was the real us. Their real behaviors and their real fears and what they really thought of the situation really started to emerge. And so that was really hard to just walk through that with them and just not even know. I mean, there's still so much of them I didn't know or understand. It was probably April or May. So the boys have been with me just since that December, so just 5 months or so. Their attorney came over and sat all of us down, told us that Dexter's biological dad had come back into the picture. He lived in Houston and he wanted custody. And I think all of us were just really insecure about what the future would hold. There was a lot of uncertainty ahead. And then August 5th, the boys moved out. I think I laid on the couch for like 3 days. When people say their worst fear about foster care is having to let someone go, I mean, that is what happened. It was just really hard to adjust back from being a parent to now being single, and I was really concerned for the boys. I think one of the things that really helped me during that period of time was knowing that God is sovereign over our stories, and that if those 8 months of them being with me was what he had planned, then they got to be loved. They got to see what family looks like. They got to see what community should look like. They got to be a part of a church that taught the gospel, and so I just had to cling to that. It was like daily reminding myself of that. Communication was kind of sparse for a while, and I remember it was October, And I asked them what they were doing for Halloween, and Dexter kind of was able to share just how bad things were going and said he wanted to run away. The attorney quickly made a trip down there, found out that things were not going well, and removed the boys pretty quickly. I remember Dexter called me and he asked, Becca, can we come home and will you adopt us? And I just remember thinking, yes, but I didn't know, like, legally what the scenario was gonna be, what was gonna happen with custody. And so I told him, yes, you can always come back here. You always have a place in my house, no matter what happens. And I remember hanging up the phone, and every part of me wanted to say yes to them, but the other part of me was like, man, I never thought that I would be adopting and 2 teenage boys at this point. And so I just started thinking of all the implications that would mean for my life. Boy, if I have 2 teenage boys as a single mom, like, I don't think marriage is gonna be something that happens anytime soon, which is a dream that, like, I'd love, but the Lord had bigger plans, and I just remember being like, yep, this is what it is to follow Jesus. Like, it means that I lay down the things that I want and trust him with them and say yes and follow wherever he goes.
Can we get Dexter and Jeremiah's case started here?
And you are here because you have petitioned this court to grant the adoption to make sure you are legally and finally and forever mom.
Yes.
Now, are they already your boys?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're asking the judge to make it legal.
Yes.
Forever.
And no more foster care paperwork.
All right. Drum roll, please. So hang in there. Come on, keep it going. Keep it going.
I got you ready.
There's a lot of the harder side of foster care and adoption that isn't talked about often, but that is really hard, and it costs a lot. But in the midst of that, I'm able to look at that and be like, that was just like Jesus taking up his cross and following, you know, what his Father asked him to do. You know, we as foster and adoptive parents can do the same, knowing that it will very well cost us our life. We love because he first loved us. And so I'm going to love them with all that I have. And loving them like that, no matter how long they're with me, will give them a picture of Christ's love.